When looking at restrictions, we need to look at the restrictions for all the different variables within the question. So as we look at this example, we notice we have a y and an x, which means we're going to have to deal with restrictions on both that y and on the x. And looking at that y first, we notice it's outside the radical sign, which means it doesn't matter what y is, whether y is positive or negative, and as a result, y is all real numbers. Looking at the x is underneath the radical sign, so it is going to matter. If we have 5 negatives, we're going to end up with a negative number, and that's not going to work for us. So we're going to need to have x is greater than or equal to 0. So those are our 2 restrictions. Now for our simplifying, let's take 8 and let's find the prime factors of it. So 8 is 4 times 2 and 4 is 2 times 2. So we're going to take our original question, negative 7y squared times the square root of 8x to the 5th, and we're going to rewrite that, replacing the 8 with the 3 2's. So we still have the negative 7y squared on the outside. We're going to have 3 2's underneath the radical sign, and this exponent 5 tells us that we have 5 x's. So we're going to want to put down our 5 x's. So there's our 5 x's. We are now going to take a peek and see what we have to circle. No visible index is an index of 2, so we're looking for 2 of the same. These 2 guys get to go together and can come out. That 2 has nobody. These 2 x's can go together. These 2 x's can go together. And that x is left behind. It has nobody to go with. The 2 and the x's are going to join the negative 7 that was out front. So as we go to look at that, we have negative 7y squared times 2 times x, and under the radical sign we still have 2 times x. Now, we want to have it so we have one number, one set of x's, one set of y's, as we look at our different pieces. Now, keeping in mind that if we went 2 times 3 times 4, and we went 4 times 3 times 2. So if we look at those are going to give us exactly the same number, even though we are multiplying them in a different order. So what that means is that I can take the 7 and the 2 and multiply them together, so even though they're not beside each other, because these are all multiplies, I can multiply those 2 together. So I'm going to get negative 14y squared. X times x is x squared. And underneath the radical sign I have 2x. Often we put variables in alphabetical order. If we do that, we're looking at, this is 100% correct, but you might see it in a multiple choice question with the x first and then the y, and that 2 would be correct. And then let's put our restriction on the end. So there is our final answer. For this one, if we look at it, we're going to need our restrictions. X to the 4th, that would be 4 x's. 4 positives get us a positive number. If we take 4 negatives and multiply them together, we get a positive answer. So this would be positive, and we could square root it. So this would be x is all real numbers. As we go to look at this x, we have the same idea happening here. 4 x's, 4 positive values would get us a positive. 4 negatives would get us a positive. So this would be x is all real numbers. So as I look at my restriction, they're the same. So we're looking at x is all real numbers. Now looking at our values, 4 and 8 are not the same. So although the x's are the same, the coefficients are not. As a result, currently they're not like terms. We're going to need to simplify and see if we get like terms. So if we look at the 2 square root of 4x to the 4th, 4 is 2 times 2. So this would be the same as 2 on the outside, 2 2's on the inside, followed by 4 x's. And remember to expand your radical sign if you need to. No visible index is the same as an index of 2, so we're looking for 2 of the same. So these two can go together, these two can go together, and these two can go together. So as those move out, we have the 2 that was already out front, a 2 that joined it. We have 1x from the first circle group, 1x from the second circle group. 2 times 2 is 4. X times x is x squared. Okay, so there is our 2 times 4 times x to the exponent 4. If we now look at our other radical, we had 8 times x to the exponent 4 under the square root sign. And look at simplifying that. We have 8 is 2 times 4. 4 is 2 times 2. So this could be written as 3 2's followed by 4 x's. We still have a no visible index, so still an index of 2. So 2 of the same can be circled. 1, 2. These guys get to go together. Nobody for that 2. 1, 2. These guys get to go together. 1, 2. These guys get to go together. All circle groups get to move out. So I have a 2 on the outside. I have 1x from the first circle group, 1x from the second circle group, and left behind is the uncircled 2. Oh, 2. X times x is x squared, square root 2. So if we go back to our original question, was the square root of 2 times the square root of 4, x to the 4th, minus the square root of 8x to the 4th. So there is our original question. If we go through and replace each of these pieces by their new simplified, we find that the first one was 4x squared. We still have our minus sign. The second one was 2x squared, square root 2. And now we have to decide if these are like terms. Looking at them, this one has a radical, this one does not. So they are not like terms, which means we cannot subtract them. And that would be our final answer.